Good evening. You are joining with Prime TV News and I'm Vibhuda Vijay Bandara. First, let's look at today's headlines. President's Philippines tour reaps benefits. Sri Lanka to get $455 million from ADB. Presidential Commission will probe malpractices in state establishment. Prime Minister declares open the Sabaragamuwa Medical Faculty. Sri Lanka leads in fishery exports. And from news overseas, British Prime Minister wins the no confidence vote. And now for the news in detail. The Asian Development Bank has agreed to provide $455 million on behalf of 3 leading projects in Sri Lanka. This agreement was reached when President Maithripala Sirisena, on a tour of the Philippines, met the Asian Development Bank chief Takehiko Nakao. President Maithripala Sirisena, who is on a 4-day state visit to the Philippines, undertook an observation tour of the Asian Development Bank headquarters in Manila this morning. During talks held with the ADB chief Takehiko Nakao, agreement was reached to provide a loan assistance of $300 million for the construction of a road with towers to enter the Colombo harbour. This agreement has been expressed within the Economic Cooperation Provision Policy Framework for the South Asian subzone of the Asian Development Bank. In addition, the Asian Development Bank has agreed to give $145 million to infrastructure, weather, environment and forest conservation. In addition, the Asian Development Bank has agreed to give $145 million to Sri Lanka on behalf of Science, Technology and Human Resources Development Project. Agreement has also been reached to grant $10 million for the Technological Aid Supply Scheme on behalf of a feasibility study on urban development project. MOUs related to these agreements were signed by President Maithripala Sirisena and Asian Development Bank chief Takehiko Nakao. Expressing his views, the President said that Sri Lanka is facing 2 challenges, and these were alleviating poverty and eliminating the narcotics racket. The Asian Development Bank chief said that he would explore the possibility of providing the necessary modern technology and expert technological know-how to prevent the smuggling in of narcotics. The President further underscored the need for a more streamlined program for Sri Lanka to face the drought and flood situations. The ADB head consented to expressing support for projects to minimize the damage inflicted to Sri Lanka from climate and weather calamities. The Asian Development Bank is already supporting Sri Lanka in various spheres, including energy conservation, agriculture, infrastructure, weather, environment and forest conservation. The ADB chairman said that he would extend continued support in this respect. Also, Takehiko mentioned that he expected to extend support in the future for new projects in irrigation, highways and digital infrastructure development fields. He further said that he is satisfied over the progress achieved by Sri Lanka in the health sector and also for projects required to improve the tourism industry. The President and the ADB chief discussed the need for an immediate program to prevent the harm done by animals to cultivation of local crops. A Presidential Commission of Inquiry has been established to investigate into allegations of corruption and malpractices that had taken place in state institutions from 15th January 2015 to 31st December 2018. The commission appointed by President Maithripala Sirisena is headed by retired Supreme Court Judge Upali Aberatne. The commission will inquire into misconduct or misuse of state resources and privileges and corrupt activities, fraud, criminal act of breach of trust, culpability and deception of property of state establishments during the period of 15th January 2015 to 31st December 2018. In addition, comprehensive investigations will be carried out with respect to serious damage or damage caused to state resources and state revenue by persons who held or are holding political positions as a result of the mentioned erroneous misdeeds. The task of the Commission is to call for public complaints, information and other matters relating to the serious charges against those who have been employed by public sector employees and statutory boards and who are continuing to work, and to expeditiously conduct them impartially. The Commission also seeks to gather evidence and identify persons responsible for such offences. The 5-member committee, led by retired Supreme Court Judge A.H.M. Upali Aberatne, also includes retired High Court Judge Sarojini Kusala Veerwardena, retired Auditor General P.A. Pematilaka, retired Ministry Secretary Lalit R. De Silva and retired DIG M.K.D. Vijay Amarasinghe. President Maithripala Sirisena has given instructions to the Commission to present its first interim report within 3 months and the final report containing orders and recommendations within 6 months. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has revealed that the government had spent 1,300 billion rupees during the last 4 years on behalf of the uplift of the education and health sectors. The Prime Minister made this disclosure at the vesting of the medical faculty of the Sabaragamu University in students. Before participating in these functions, Premier Wickremesinghe participated in religious observance at the Ratnapura Saman Devale. Chief Sanganayaka of the Sabaragamu Division, the Most Venerable Indraratna Thera, conducted a special Bodhi Puja Pinkama. A group including many ministers and parliamentarians joined in the occasion. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe declared open the medical faculty of Sabaragamu University. Nearly 100 students have already been enrolled to the medical faculty of the Sabaragamu University. Practical training required by them will be provided by Ratnapura General Hospital. In the meantime, the conversion of Ratnapura General Hospital to a teaching hospital took place under the patronage of Premier Wickremesinghe. After arriving at the hospital, the Prime Minister unveiled the plaque, transforming the hospital into a teaching hospital. The Prime Minister also inspected several wards at the hospital. Sri Lanka has achieved the first place in fisheries exports under the international environmental standards. Sri Lanka has received this highest place based on the latest survey report of Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch, the US famous institute that grades famous seafood. Sri Lanka had been exporting seafood properly safeguarding international recommendation and environmental recommended standards. The Fisheries Ministry said that this would be an inducement to create a positive trend for local fish production. Meanwhile, State Minister Dilip Vedarache at a media conference mentioned that a decision had been taken to launch many programs for the improvement of every sector of the fisheries industry. The Permanent High Court trial at Bar has decided to hear D.A. Rajapaksa Museum case against the former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa daily from January 22nd. The hearing was conducted today with respect to the misuse of state funds to the tune of 33.9 million rupees in the construction of D.A. Rajapaksa Memorial Museum. It has been filed by the Attorney General. Complying with the notice issued by the Special High Court, the Chairman of Land Reclamation and Development Corporation, Prashant Gunawardhan, appeared before the court this morning. Submitting a report to the Special High Court, the LRDC chairman stated that most of the documents requested by the defence have been recovered by a committee appointed by him. Presenting submissions before the judge bench, Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris stated that several of the officials from the Land Reclamation and Development Corporation are to travel abroad by the time the case hearing commences. Hence, he sought a court order calling for the witnesses to inform the court in advance on their overseas travel plans in order to avoid impediment it would have on trial proceedings. Accepting the request made by the Deputy Solicitor General, the Special High Court judges ordered the witnesses of the case to inform the court if they are to travel overseas on the days in which the hearings are conducted. A group of persons, including former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa, appeared before the Permanent High Court at Bar this morning. The case was taken up before the Special High Court 3-judge bench comprising judges Sampath Abekon, Sampath Vijayaratna and Champa Janaki Rajaratna. The appeals filed by former Presidential Secretary Lalit Veeratunga and former Director General of Telecommunications Regularity Commission Anusha Palpita against the verdict of the Silk Court case are to be taken up for consideration. The order was given by the appeals court today. They were convicted on charges of aiding and abetting for the misuse of 600 million rupees of Telecommunications Regularity Commission of Sri Lanka for the distribution of silk cloth during the last presidential election period. Accordingly, Appeals Court Judge Deepali Vijay Sundara ordered to take up the appeals case on the 8th of March. The court also ordered the Attorney General to file written submissions with respect to the appeals petition on the 5th of February. Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam has said that the government had allocated a record sum for education within the last 4 years. The minister said that the aim of education is to endow a generation to society instilled with human kindness. The Education Minister was speaking at a national ceremony organised for admitting children for Grade 1. It was held under the auspices of Education Minister Akila Viraj Karyavasam. A special tree planting program, Let's Grow Together, with the involvement of all primary divisions, was also being implemented. Grade 1 admissions also took place in all other government schools today. The Vavuniya District National Program was held centering the Rambakulam Girls' School. The function was held under auspices of District Secretary I.M. Hanifa. In attendance was a group including education officials. Admission of children to Grade 1 at the Nugegoda Samudra Devi Girls' College took place under the patronage of Principal Renuka Jayawardena. The children entered the school premises in a walk. The admission of children to Grade 1 of the Vijay Bahu Primary School within the Udugama Zone in the Galle District took place under the patronage of Udugama Zonal Education Director Abbesiri Piasoma. Grade 1 admissions to St. Joseph's College in Anuradhapura was organised under the patronage of Chief Education Secretary of the North Central Province Tilaka Bandara. 259 children were admitted to Grade 1. Parliamentarian M. Sumantiran has said that certain mass media establishments were giving publicity to misleading, incorrect information with respect to the proposed constitution. Mr. Sumantiran said that there were several teams that are against the drafting of a new constitution. He pointed out that a certain TV channel a few days back, quoting just one part of his speech, had distorted facts. He mentioned that the information presented through the relevant news item and his opinion was completely distorted. Mr. Sumantiran said that certain print media were presenting information distorting his views. He emphasized that the matters related to a division of the country had not been presented through proposals presented for the constitution. Another stage for the release of 1,202 acres of land used by the army to the original owners of the north is scheduled to begin on Monday. The granting of lands vested in the army during the war period to the original owners is already being implemented under several stages. Accordingly, the lands used by the army in the northern province were being released for the owners. 972 acres of land in the Kilinochchi district and 120 acres of land from the Mullaitivu district have been cultivated by the army. Lands in Nachikuda, Wallekulam, Udayar-Kottukulam areas are being released in this manner. In addition, 46 acres in Jaffna district and 63 acres in Vavuniya district are due to be vested in the original owners. Fairly strong gusty winds up to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected over northwestern, eastern, over north central and western provinces and in the Hambantota district. The Department of Meteorology mentioned that fairly colder nights and mornings are expected over most parts of the island during the next few days. Several spells of light showers will also occur in the western province and in Batiklo and Ampara districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at few places in Ratnapura, Galle, Matara, Kalutara districts after 2 p.m. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere. Temporary localized strong winds are expected during thunder showers. The public have been called upon to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by lightning activity. Meanwhile, showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the sea areas off the coast, extending from Hambantota to Batiklo via Puthuil. Showers or thundershowers may occur at few places in the sea area of the coast, extending from Kalutara to Matara via Galle in the evening or night. Winds will be northeasterly and wind speed will be 30 to 40 kilometers per hour in the sea areas around the island. The sea areas of the coast extending from Mana to Balapitia via Puttalam and Colombo, and the sea area of the coast extending from Matara to Trincomalee via Batikalo can also be rough at times as the wind speed can increase up to 50 to 60 kilometers at times. A person has been taken into custody with a haul of heroin worth more than 60 million rupees. The raid was carried out by the Police Narcotics Bureau. Accordingly, 5.024 kilograms of heroin and a three-wheeler that was transporting the haul were received along the Malabe-Kadwala road. The suspect is a resident of Obesekarpura in Rajagiri and Kadwala-Kotalawala areas. The suspect is due to be produced in the Kadwala Magistrate Court and interrogated under the detention orders. A person has been arrested with 2 kilograms of Kerala Ganja. The raid was carried out by sailors affiliated to the Northwestern Naval Command following a tip-off received by the Navy. The suspect was apprehended with the whole of Kerala Ganja in the Palavia area while it was being transported. The three-wheeler used in this process was also taken into custody. The suspect and the three-wheeler have been handed over to the Puttalam Narcotics Bureau. Now it's time for business news. Social media has revolutionized the way we connect, work and do business. Anyone with internet access can take it global. However, the flip side is a human connection gap. LinkedIn Local has tapped into an appetite for face-to-face interaction to get to know people behind the online profiles. LinkedIn online events are providing that space all around the world. Alexandra Galvez, LinkedIn Top Voice UK, is in a visit to Sri Lanka to share her experience with the Sri Lankan community. Alexandra Galvez had this to say.
The idea was essentially to meet people behind the profiles and get to know the person as a person, essentially. I got in touch with her because I found that idea fascinating. I was doing something similar in London, and with her and two other people we set up LinkedIn Local. And since then, in over 18 months, we spread it to about 80 countries in over 600 cities, and we have over 100,000 members and 1,000 hosts that look after these events on our behalf. So the idea is to build community, not sell, not pitch, but essentially to really bring people together around, let's help each other and let's give and partner instead of like, let's try and get something from each other.
With that, we end the day's news. Prime News will return tomorrow. And in the meantime, make www.itnnews.lk your go-to source for the very latest in news from home and overseas. Have a pleasant day. Good night.